let me just return to my story a little bit. I came across these passages, and I was struck with the realization that I needed to change the way that I prayed. I need to start praying with confidence for the things that God has promised, for the things along the line of his heart. And I can tell you, things began to change after quite literally years of feeling like a failure and having everything that I tried to do fail. A season began where anyone who was looking at my life would tell you that it was marked by ask and receive. And I don't say that to exalt myself. I say that to bear witness to the God who is faithful. Some leaders, some church leaders I met, and unlike my pastor at the time, they said, I think you do have a calling from God, and we want to give you an internship, and we want to prepare you for church planting. It wasn't that long at all after that. They said, we think you're ready for church planting. First, we really want to see you raise a lot of money, like something to the tune of like $250,000 pledged. It's super hard. And very, very quickly, we had $250,000 pledged from people, from individuals. And it wasn't just empty pledges. It was pledged and received. And so then we were starting a church. This all happened very, very quickly. We were starting a church, and we had a bunch of money pledged for this church. We had a dream for years. We put our hands on a certain building. I've told you this story before, but just sit through it. You're going to hear it again. For years, we put our hands on a building that was a music venue. It was an old movie theater converted to a music venue. It was right downtown. It would be the perfect place to rent out for our Sunday services because we're trying to connect with non-churchy people. And so let's meet in a bar. It'd be perfect. We had a deal with these fellows, the people who own the bar. We had a deal with them that we were going to rent out their music venue on Sunday mornings. We were going to pay them. A lot of our people would probably stick around for lunch once they opened their restaurant afterwards. It was a perfect deal. Everyone was going to win. They put it on the front page of the newspaper because that is news, church meeting in a bar. Some people started to talk. Not everyone thought it was a great idea. There was a guy who, now we're friends. Maybe he listens to my sermons from time to time. Dino, if you're out there, I love you, man. There's this blogger by the name of Dino. He tweeted, an evangelical church meeting at the Fillmore, is that really what you want from your entertainment? And the owners of the Fillmore, just like a few weeks before our very first Sunday service, called me in, and they said, we're concerned about how associating with the church is affecting our image as a bar. I'm glad you laughed. Just feel that irony a little bit, okay? In this world, you do have to be careful about who you associate with. And actually, that's something that maybe we should just pause and consider. Christians don't always have a good name, okay? Christians aren't always known for their love and their humility. Sometimes Christians are known for their political discourse. Sometimes Christians are known for self-righteous posturing. Sometimes Christians are known for hypocrisy. Well, let it be what it will be. But it's not what we want. It's not who we are. Well, this particular bar owner, I would say, had seemingly less pure intentions for not wanting us there. He told me that in our establishment, it's not uncommon. I'll never forget it. He said in our establishment, it's not uncommon for a man to come in here with his girlfriend while his wife is at home. And we have to be careful about the image that we're putting across. In other words, if we're known as the Christian bar, we could lose the business of people who, well, you heard what I said. And that was so confusing to me because ask and receive, I've been living this, I had been seeing it, and this specific spot is what we were asking for. We were asking to rent this specific spot. But they said no, and we had to find another spot. Brand new church. Less than a year later, the owners of the Fillmore, this is how I tell the story, because this is what I believe. A promise that goes way back to the very beginning of the Bible and finds its way out through the Bible. The promise is this. I'm going to bless those who bless you, and whoever dishonors you, I will curse. And the way that I think of it is, that's when the Lord started cursing their business. You don't hear about bars going out of business in Wisconsin, okay? Let me tell you. You do not hear about bars going out of business in Wisconsin because it doesn't happen. But less than a year later, they're contacting us and saying, do you want to buy the business? And the Lord provided the means for us to buy the business at less than a third of the money that was put in to renovating this business. They put a lot of money into renovating this music venue, and we bought it for a third of what they put into it, okay? Our prayer was to rent it. The Lord did above and beyond, and now we're moving in. This is like very shortly after I discovered John 14 through 16, okay? We are moving in. We're purchasing this downtown music venue, and the story continues. It wasn't that long after that where I'm driving through a neighboring town, Stevens Point, thinking we should plant a church here, and I'll never forget, I know exactly where I was. I was driving through the city, and I thought we should plant a church here, and then the following thought is, you are really busy in life, okay? How are you going to do that? And then the following thought after that was, same logic that brought us this far, ask and receive. That seems to have worked in the past, right? So I remember praying for another church in Stevens Point. Boom, connected with an old friend who was in a place that he had been experiencing that waiting on God, and he's like, let's do it. I wasn't going to tell all this story, but I have to. It's just too good. There was this building. It was a church building, a historic church building in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And they put it for sale because a lot of churches are dying, if you haven't noticed. Churches are dying. They put their old historic church building for sale. My friend in Stevens Point, he had a friend of a friend. He knew someone that knew someone who was part of this small group of remaining people that were part of this church. And he's like, all right, I made a meeting with them. And at this point, I was honestly like, all right, let's go have a meeting. And I didn't really even know what we were doing. And then the morning of the meeting, he calls me and he says, I'm sick, so I can't go. And I'm thinking, I'll go, but I still don't know what we're doing here. And I remember very clearly, I was in the shower getting ready, and I thought, maybe I should just ask them to give us the building. And maybe that's the Holy Spirit. And I went, and I thought to myself, I'm going to go here. I'm going to find a small group of nice elderly Christians, and that's exactly what happened. And I wore long sleeves because I wasn't ready to fully come out. But I met with them and I just shared my story of what the Lord had done in Wausau, of how I myself went from someone who thought Christianity was the worst to becoming someone who discovered that Christianity, Jesus is alive. I shared my own story, shared the story of everything God did in Wausau, and then I remember saying, here's where you come in. The building that you have, this church, it was a historic Baptist church that had dwindled down to 4 members. I said, I would like you to give us your building and any people that are here and any money that you might have. That's what I said, word for word. I must have been feeling the boldness of the Holy Spirit. And they gave us their building, they gave us themselves, and they gave us all of their money. That was in Stevens Point. A few years later, just north of Wausau, a town called Merrill. Same stuff. Okay? Connected with someone. The Lord was feeling a stirring in his life. Not that long after that at all. A building, a youth center, downtown Merrill. The person who owned it gave it to us. Fully paid off. And these are just stories of things, as in buildings are things, resources, money, things. Very helpful for ministry sometimes, but nevertheless, things. And I want you to hear that, and I want you to be encouraged, and I want you to know that when Jesus said, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you can ask for whatever you wish. I want you to ask in faith. I want you to be allowing the Spirit to penetrate your own hearts and say, Lord, am I asking this for your mission? Or am I asking this for your glory? By the way, just a quick disclaimer. If you've not joined his mission, none of this applies to you right now. I want it to apply to you, but what I'm saying is if you're not living for his purposes, then this isn't going to work. It's not a tactic to get what you want. Instead, it's an invitation to join his mission. And you know my friend who last week said, how does someone experience God? Well, there's a lot of ways to answer that question. But here's a big one. Ask and receive. This is what Jesus said. I read it in John chapter 16. Ask and receive that your joy may be full. Ask and receive that your joy may be full. There is a joy that comes when you ask for something and it's like, wow, it happened just like I asked. I asked with confidence and according to his word. It might not have been a lot of confidence. Maybe it was just a tiny little mustard seed of confidence because that's often all that it is. It's like I go to Lord and I feel like, Lord, 99% of me is doubting. 99% of me is weak. But there's a little speck that looks to your word. And I'm coming to you with that little speck. And I'm saying, God, if you're not a liar, I need you to do this for your glory, for your name's sake. And then it happens. And then it happens. And your heart is just amazed. God is real. God is alive. God is with us. That's how you experience God. And if you've never done that, I invite you to hear these promises. Ask and receive, ask and receive, ask and receive. I invite you and I even dare you to put this into practice.